So I'm here in Melbourne, ready to present at another meeting. Let's go. If it's your first time here, my name is Jack Wang. I'm a science educator and a microbiologist, and for the past 15 years, I've been teaching at an Australian university. The work I've done with students has been very rewarding and certainly very important, but lately I've been finding that teachers need just as much support and mentoring as students. In the past 15 years, I've won Teaching Excellence Awards at the school, the department, as well as the university level. I also won teaching awards in my discipline of microbiology. I was the 2020 recipient of the ASM David White Teaching Excellence Award. ASM is the Australian Society for Microbiology. And also in that same year, in 2020, I was awarded the Australian Awards for University Teaching Excellence Award in the Biological Sciences discipline, as well as the overall University Teacher of the Year in 2020. Given that I've won all these awards, I'm asked very often, do you have any recommendations for someone who's starting out teaching for the very first time? In fact, I'm at a learning and teaching festival in Melbourne right now, and tomorrow morning I'm going to give my keynote. What are some tips and recommendations I have for teachers who are trialing out new things? It could be new technologies or new approaches in the classroom for the very first time. So here are my 3 points of emphasis for teachers starting out. The first thing is you don't have to be entertaining, or at least you don't have to try so hard to be entertaining and spend nervous energy worrying about that part of the performance. Robin Williams in Dead Poet Society, or Maria from Sound of Music, or any teacher from The Simpsons, they're all characterized by this overwhelming charisma with jokes and songs and dances. That is a lot of pressure to live up to, and a lot of new teachers spend time nervously figuring out their classroom persona because they feel if they're not entertaining, the students will not find them valuable. If you're brand new to teaching, you'd be much better served trying to find enthusiasm in the learning materials that you're presenting, in the concepts, in the subject matter. If you can find true interest in that material, you can demonstrate your enthusiasm and passion for it. That will become very obvious to all the students that you're teaching, as well as all the staff that are around you. You will communicate and be engaging without trying. You don't need to be entertaining. You just need to be interesting. My next point of emphasis is teachers need to know their value. Students constantly need to know why. Why are we teaching this? Why is this part of the curriculum? How is it going to be relevant to my everyday life? The teacher needs to be the one that provides that context. Yes, you can provide all the other reasons and all the other materials for them to look at and understand, but that context is what unlocks a lot of motivation for students. And the unwritten question that the students are asking is, why are you the best person as a teacher to give me this information? And I'll give you a real example. Sometimes that reason is not obvious to the teacher. I was asked to write some classes for a forensic science course, and spoiler alert, I am not a forensic scientist. I'm a microbiologist. I spent many weeks having writer's block, not knowing what angle I could use and how I should present the information about decomposition, about time of death, about blood work. I just had this constant fear that I would go into that classroom, I wouldn't be taken seriously. It wasn't until a few weeks in that I realized that my perspective as a scientist is valuable. I do have value. I've trained, I've done different things that will make a connection to the material for the students. As a scientist working with biological specimens, I can tell you that there's a huge amount of variability from sample to sample, person to person, and that variability is very much undersold in all we know about forensics, at least as it relates to TV and movies. So that was my value. My value was to give my professional scientific context, to talk to the students about all of these forensic tools, but at the same time, judge each forensic tool on its merits as it relates to its accuracy, as it relates to its reliability, and also, really importantly, as it relates to how easy is it to talk about the result of that test, because at the end of the day, it's about convincing a jury. By knowing my value in that context, in that classroom, I was able to find a perspective that made those classes much more engaging for the students, even though I myself am not a forensic scientist. My third and final point of emphasis or tip for new teachers is to be okay with not knowing the answers. Now, I'll temper that by saying that, of course, this is within reason. You should, of course, know the answers to most of the questions that you're asking or expecting students to be able to answer. Otherwise, how will you be able to grade it or design a class around it? But I have a mild hot take on this, a mildly spicy hot take. If you're asking students questions, all of which have a simple one-sentence answer, all of which can be Googled within 2 seconds, then what's the point of that class? Surely you should be asking questions that have unknown uncertainty about them, that have big problems that cannot be addressed through a simple Google? And these are the questions that are worth asking. Along with those questions, there's other questions that might be a little bit more straightforward. And as a teacher, if you go into a classroom knowing 70 to 80% of the answers to the questions you're asking, but having a few big open-ended questions that you want the students to collaboratively answer together with you and to help define learning objectives with you, then that is a much more exciting learning environment to me. And then you step back as a teacher with all the answers and transition towards a role where you're facilitating the students in their self-directed inquiry. And you're promoting the idea that these big problems need big, complex solutions, and the higher order learning that students need to manifest to be able to answer or address part of these problems. That is the most exciting part of learning, certainly at the university level. At the end of the day, teaching, like any discipline focused on communication and interaction, is a creative pursuit, and there is no one perfect way to teach. It depends on the teacher. If you don't believe in the teaching approach or philosophy, then it won't work for you because you won't believe in it. These are just my tips and my points of emphasis. It might not work for all of you, but hopefully one of these things will resonate with you. And good luck to all the new teachers out there about to embark on a new classroom. This is the evening before my talk at the Learning and Teaching Festival. I'm off to prepare a little bit more for the talk. Hopefully it goes well. Hopefully I connect with more teachers as well. This is the Bala Collective. I'm Jack Wang. See you in the next video.